Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about the men's rights movement. It's misogynistic. This is the one inescapable fact about the men's rights movement that makes it impossible for me to support. Are there legitimate issues raised by reasonable voices within the movement? Absolutely, and I'll talk about a few of those in a minute, but the movement itself is essentially misogynistic. And it's not even that it's actively anti-woman, although some of it obviously is. Most of it isn't the misogyny of the wife-beater or the determined sexist. It's the blindness, the insensitivity of men who can't or won't look beyond their own interests. It's the senseless panic of men who view every feminist gain as a masculine loss. Here are a few examples of the sort of misogynistic things I've noticed about the men's rights movement. It attacks feminine privilege while ignoring male privilege. This whole concept of feminine privilege is hilarious to me. It's not that I deny that feminine privilege exists in our culture, it's just that I think it's absurd to try and equate it with male privilege. The benefits of feminine privilege include having men pay for your drinks and open doors for you. The benefits of male privilege include getting to run the motherfucking world. I think I'd rather pay for my own drinks. It seeks to minimize concern over domestic violence. Sure, violence against women is terrible, says the men's rights movement member, feigning half-assed interest in the issue he's about to try to undermine. But what about violence against men? You never hear about that. As though there's this silent epidemic of woman-on-man domestic abuse. And you know what? Maybe there is. And if so, that's a terrible thing. I don't support anyone beating up anyone as a general principle. Yes, I will take that bold stance. All we know for sure about woman-on-man domestic abuse is there are far, far fewer reported incidents of it than man-on-woman domestic abuse. And if there really is this epidemic, if wives really are beating up their husbands as often as many within the men's rights movement suggest, why aren't more of these husbands coming forward to report these crimes? Could it possibly be because of the same misogynistic macho bullshit that created the men's rights movement in the first place? That these husbands don't want to come forward and report their wives because they feel like getting beaten up by a woman makes them less of a man? Because they're not supposed to beat us up. It's supposed to be the other way around, right? Here's what I do know for sure. CASA runs a shelter for battered women in Hagerstown, near where I live. There's a waiting list. Here are 2 more stupid things about the men's rights movement. It discredits efforts to address serious issues. My problem with the men's rights movement is with the movement as a whole. I don't automatically reject every issue that might be raised from within it. For example, there are some in the MRM who have pointed out that it's unfair that men in the United States have to register with selective service when they turn 18, while women don't have to. I agree. Others have suggested that family courts might be unfairly biased in favor of mothers and against fathers when it comes time to deciding things like child custody. I think that's a serious issue. And again, I think we as a society should be just as intolerant of domestic abuse that victimizes men as we have become, relatively recently, I would like to point out, of domestic violence that victimizes women. It's just that it would be a lot easier to stir people to positive action on these issues if they weren't being raised by a movement that is essentially a petulant, sexist reaction to feminism. It's unnecessary. If they care about equality, why do they call themselves feminists? I've actually had people ask me this question, and the answer is because women, that is, members of the feminine sex, are the group of people that has historically been mistreated and are now seeking rights equal to the group that mistreated them. Feminism is still necessary because women are still treated unequally in our culture relative to men. The men's rights movement is unnecessary and ridiculous because we, that is, those of us with penises, dominate business, government, religion, you name it. And we always have. We've never had to face what women have to face. Being paid less, offered fewer opportunities, punished for our personal ambition and assertiveness, being treated as less capable just because of what sex we are. And barring some unforeseen and overwhelming victory by radical feminism, we never will. The men's rights movement isn't about gender equality. It's about tipping the inequality even more in the favor of men. So fuck it. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.